Thank you so much for being on. Super excited to have you. Lien, you're a team lead at the Elle Group. You're like the Airbnb expert in town.
I guess.
So yeah, thank you so much for being on. Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Lien Vuong, I am a team lead of the Elle Group, which is a real estate team that focuses on representing investors in the Boston area with Berkshire Hathaway. So that's our brokerage.
Gotcha.
In terms of my investing journey, if you will, if with a focus on that, I do like a mix, probably 60-40 in terms of long-term rentals as well as short-term rentals. I know today we really want to kind of focus on the short-term space. My journey and experience with short-term started roughly in 2016 when my family and I just purchased like a second home, just a very traditional. It's in Naples, Florida. We thought we would, be those people that would have a vacation home, but ultimately didn't use it like at the capacity that we wanted to. And I said, hey, Mom, like let me just try to put it on Airbnb. There's this whole thing. And so we did, and we got bookings like right away. So, I got like the first taste of Airbnb in that space in that moment in 2016. And then I did arbitrage in New Hampshire, probably right around 2018. And then in 19, I had my mom purchased 2 condos in Vietnam that we Airbnb'd.
No way.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool. So I did that international experience.
Wow. Does she live there or she lives here?
She goes back and forth. We're Vietnamese. I'm Vietnamese and Chinese. So she does go back from time to time. And so, while it's vacant, we saw that it could be a successful opportunity.
Wow. So how did the first property do, like right off the gates when you started renting it out on Airbnb, the one in Florida?
The one in Florida, I mean, on an average year, we were grossing, anywhere from 55 to 65K a year, gross. And it, like, for me, like, I wasn't even like doing the things, like, I was only on Airbnb. It was furnished, but it's not at the capacity and the design level of Stay at Our House, like the brand that I have today.
Yep.
So it was very much like a beginner kind of property.
Is this property on the beach?
No, it's like, so in Naples, there's kind of these 2 like very large streets. It's like, and it's one street behind that. So it's not oceanfront by any means. It's a 4-bed, 2-bath. And we were grossing that. And like, frankly, we could have done much more. Like I could have used dynamic pricing. We could have like furnished it better, like for professional photography. I could have really amplified that opportunity, but I just really, frankly, didn't know any better. We could have even as little as going on VRBO. And I wasn't even on VRBO. I was only on Airbnb.
Is this a 2-unit? Is it a 2-family or single?
It's a single family.
Okay. And you're renting the whole place? You were renting the whole place, or just like by bedrooms, or how are you doing it?
All my rentals have been like all, one tenant, if you will, one group of guests. Because they tend to be, excuse me.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
They were vacation homes. So like, people would be 1 or 2 families, maybe a couple would stay there with some friends and stuff. So I never wanted the management and like how intensive it is to like, rent per room. I never wanted that kind of management or that tenant class.
Yeah.
So I always kept it one large party.
So tell us a little more. I mean, maybe we can get a little deeper on how you're managing them. Obviously, you have properties in Vietnam that you're managing. I mean, we won't go that far, but the ones you live in Boston, so the one in Florida, how hands-on are you now if you still own that property?
So we no longer own Florida, and we still have one of the units in Vietnam. And then I have currently like 4 units like under management, if you will. 3 of my own, 1 I just like, manage for an owner. So those are the more active ones. We are like, expanding right now. So we'll likely have 2 to 3 more units by the end of the year, I would say. But I mean, we're built to grow. So like, you know, the kind of the lessons of, you know, starting the Naples, like the baby property into the system today. I mean, everything's done remote. So for me, I really learned from that experience, right?
Yep.
Like learning how important the local crew was. Like I learned that kind of like organically. Okay, so like you definitely have to get a really like kind of a turnkey property, because you can't afford to basically have gaps in stays to do BS repairs, right? If you're
Yep.
kind of got a clunky house, you need it completely turnkey. So learning that, like understanding that furniture selection was really important, and getting what they call contract level furnishings. So what that means is like basically it's commercial grade, right? Like the chairs are a little bit sturdier. It can afford
Gotcha.
more flexibility in wear. When you sit on an Amazon couch, you know it. You know, if you like sit the wrong way, that thing's gonna collapse. You know, and I can't afford that. Like simply, you know, I can't
Yeah.
afford the vacancy to repair it, order another one. So, you know, we're willing to
Yep.
elevate it further. So it's less issues. But mostly in terms of like management, we have a team. Like, you know, we have a VA that like screens some of the initial, you know, emails and inquiries. We have an actual property manager, like, you know, someone that's designated to property management that does a much more higher level. So they manage the VA, accounting. I do operations, and Andrew does all the marketing,
Gotcha.
websites and branding.
So you're not dealing directly with the guests yourself, right?
I personally do not.
That's awesome. So you have a manager that's doing that for you.
Exactly. Yeah, we fold that into our business. So, you know, Naples again was like just kind of this like little beta property. And like, you know, from that lesson, I had learned to really systemize like how I was going to like build this business. And so when we launched Stay at Our House, you know, roughly a year ago, I knew all the tools to be able to do it right, because I knew some of the trials and tribulations of that process, because I
Nice.
obviously had gone through it.
That's outstanding.
Mhm.
So, what are some of the lessons that you've learned? Like, not like if you were to start today, knowing what you knew from the Florida property, what wouldn't you do?
What wouldn't I do? I definitely wouldn't buy kind of like a junk house. Like sometimes people are so desperate to start, you know, they're like, you know, they'll buy anything. And you can talk about that with like long-term, medium-term, etc.
Yeah,
But for
yeah, yeah.
me, especially in this space, is finding a property that doesn't need that much work. You can fix it, but make sure you fix it well. There's no like slapping paint on things, because
Yeah.
assuming that it has the occupancy that it does, which our houses are very lucky. We're as occupied as can be, you know. And so getting the right kind of condition is really important. And that's something that I would definitely advise people on. And I think investing in your furniture and your linens is really important, and having it be truly fully furnished and
Gotcha.
tools included. So that's where, like, you know, some people would discount, they'll do dollar store stuff and things like that. And there are things that you could do dollar store-esque
Yep.
solutions on. But, you know, an example of that
Not
is
everything.
mitts, right? So like a large mitt, like an oven mitt should hold your whole hand. When I had bought once in the dollar store, it literally covered half of my hand. And so then you would get burnt in the corner. I'm like, then what the heck was this for? It's all BS stuff, and the clients know that these guests know, right?
That they're cheap stuff. Yep.
Because it's not used properly, or it doesn't function in the right way. So I would say, like, truly invest in it. It doesn't have to be fancy, but do the right thing. Like, what
Yep.
would you want as a guest? You want proper dishes. You don't. People know when this is old, like, you know, and like I'm using like garage sale dishes, you know, in this house. I would say that. And then the third thing is don't discount cleaning. In
Yep.
the sense of like, make sure that time gap that you're like, you know, put proper time gaps in between guest check-in, check-out, but make sure the house is really clean, because even if they live dirty, when you go into a hotel, you go into a guest space, you're scrutinizing everything. And that
Yep.
is very, very important. And so we will continue to emphasize on cleaning. We even do biannual deep cleanings. So we'll shut
That's
down.
amazing. 5?
Say that again?
5?
No,
5
by, like, so twice a year.
Oh, twice. Sorry.
Twice
Okay.
a year. So like, you know, we'll do it like end of summer. I'm sorry, spring and then fall. I apologize.
Oh, that's all good.
When it's a little bit of a lull, we shut down for a few days. So, you know, there's technically loss of income, but we'll deep clean the house. We'll wipe down banisters. We'll wipe down walls, like everything like that to make sure it's super clean. Because my barometer of sanitation is like Equinox. So when I go there and they're wiping down the little crevices of the treadmill, like I want that kind of clean.
You have a treadmill on there?
No. We want to add a Peloton to one of the houses whenever it's a fit. But I'm saying like at Equinox, like I go there.
Oh, yeah.
I watch them clean it.
Gotcha.
That's my expectation of sanitation.
Well, that's perfect, especially during COVID. I mean, that must have been huge for you. So you must get excellent reviews. How does the cleaning portion work? Does Airbnb notify the cleaner, or is it something that your management company does or your management folks do?
Yeah, so there's no platforms that will, like Airbnb, for example, that will notify the cleaners. So you would either like kind of manually do it if you had your own and you weren't using a PMS, which is a property management software.
Gotcha.
But then you would just like screenshot a picture. Again, Naples, Florida, I was screenshotting the calendar to my cleaner. And if it was a last minute booking, the house wasn't clean. That happened several times. It was so BS. Like, I don't know, the stuff that I was pulling off. But nonetheless, so, you know, like these systems would notify them, you would log on, they're an additional team member.
Yep.
And then they would be notified accordingly.
That's awesome. I personally have a property at the Cape, which I'm having Vacasa now. It used to be Turnkey Management, but now it's Vacasa. They got bought over from Vacasa. Mm-hmm. It's working out fine. They do keep a commission. I mean, the best thing that I love is that I don't have to do anything like with guests or cleaners. But it sounds like you've found a way to manage everything yourself without a hassle, without a headache, and you're building it as a company yourself. And I'm sure you can, you know, that part that you would pay another management company, you can pay your own people. And do people make money off of the cleaners as well, or?
Yeah, for sure. It
you can.
On the model. So I, you know, technically I make money, but for me it's reserves. Yep. So let's say if a cleaning fee, like really my true costs are $150. Yep. I could charge them anywhere from $175 to $200. You never want, like I have a rule of thumb personally that the cleaning fee should never be more than the nightly fee. Like I think that's very disproportionate, right? Like that sounds ridiculous. True. So I do monitor that. But nonetheless, so like, you know, $150, we pad in $175. That $25 delta pays for cleaning products, toiletries, lights, you know, not really, right? But like a little bit of utility cost. Or you can think about it as the reserve. So every $25 goes into the deep cleaning bucket, you know? So then at the end, when you're doing that deep clean, it's going to cost you like 3 times more because it's just more cleaning. It would cost you $350 to $450 to do that, like well. And so you just, that's part of the reserve. So that is a strategy you could do.
That's smart.
I'm mindful of like not inflating the cleaning fee just too much. The reason is because again, it's this like perception that, oh my God, like, you know, I got to pay for all this cleaning, but then also I'm stripping the beds. You know, there's that kind of feeling from the guest perspective. But I'd rather increase the rate $10, $15 a night, and then 3 nights, it's already $45. That's a blind cost that they don't really care about. Yep. That looks way better than and having a $175 cleaning fee, then moving that cost to $45. Now they're $105, and they're like, you know, it ends up, it doesn't look as appetizing to the consumer.
Makes sense. What type of amenities do you provide? Like towels, everything like that? And how much do you provide? So for example, like soap and, you know, like any like shampoos or anything like that. The reason I ask is recently we rented an Airbnb at the Cape, and the lady told us to bring our own towels.
Right.
And that was a first for me. So I'm like, for me, I'm local, I live in Sharon, whatever, I'll take them from my house. But someone coming from California, what would they do? What
Yeah,
are
I
you
think
doing in your properties?
so in seasonal areas like that, like I have a Hampton, we're gonna launch a Cape soon. Those areas are actually more common to have those scenarios. Like some of them will ask you to bring sheets. It's because of the laundering service that ends up being a pain. That's why they do that, even though then the guest experience obviously is reduced.
Yep.
For me, we provide all the amenities if possible, like anything that makes sense. So all sheets, like our sheets are high premium. Sheets, towels, as much towels as you want, shampoo, conditioner, body wash, hand soap, obviously the actual amenities of the home, right? Like we always have a grill, fire pit whenever possible, additional dining space. So wherever you can congregate and really enjoy the home, we will provide. We have pizza ovens in some of our properties, projectors, popcorn machine,
That's
anything
amazing.
that feels like I just, and I credit a lot of this to Andrew, where he's much more creative about these experiences. But wherever it makes sense for us to add in some cool cachet, we do. Yeah, for the example of the towel. So in Hampton, we will buy beach chairs for the next season. We kind of launched fast, so we couldn't. But we're for sure gonna do the wagon, the beach chairs, and we would provide that. We won't provide beach towels. The reason is because it's just more laundering. Like we cannot launder enough.
Gotcha.
Because a group of 6, that's already probably 2 batches of towels.
True.
That's 3 hours. And then another batch of like beach towels. We couldn't keep up.
Makes sense.
But it's not a cost thing. It's mostly time.
Time, yeah. From the time that one checks out and the other one is gonna need to check in. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I lost my train of thought here for a second. But yeah, no, that's very interesting. How you're managing everything.
So you don't use your Cape House then? It's mostly because if you
yeah. I mean, I block my time for the summer whenever I want to go there. So yeah, that's the only way to do it. Like I would have to block those days for myself. For the rest of the year, I mean, it's it's not as busy. So, like you'll get like like Christmas, end of the year, Thanksgiving, time, that it gets booked and it's like higher prices. But I mean, for the summer, it's outstanding. I mean, you're getting like 4 to 440 a night, and it's a 1600.
Weekly?
What is it?
You
No, I
do
didn't insist. They said, well, let's keep it because the market was kind of changing this year, I guess. It wasn't as, the bookings weren't coming in as fast as before. So they recommend, we did like 5 days, minimum 5 days for the summer. Yeah. And there were some gaps in between, but then they would still like be able to rent minimum 2 nights for those gaps. So it worked out. I mean, I think I'll be able to generate like 27, 28 for the year, 1,000.
Gross.
So, gross, yeah. Yeah. Right. That's before the management fee. Right. So I mean, considering I'm using it for myself, I'm barely breaking even with my expenses, but for me it's fine, knowing that, hey, I have a property, most of it is being paid, and then I'm also using it as a second home, so it works out.
What town are you in?
East Sandwich.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of like more in the beginning, if you will. It's not deep Cape.
No, yeah, it's literally like 50 minutes from Quincy, which is where I used to live. Yeah, no, I mean, these are all valuable, tips that you've given here, especially with the amenities. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Have you, like, you know, in talking about your
Mhm.
property, and so it's a 3-2 or is it 3-1?
It's 4 bedrooms, 1 bath.
4-bedroom, 1 bath. So, and then it's a classic, like a Cape house, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like it's like a raised ranch.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I obviously don't know the locale, like, you know, in terms of everything in the Cape is by the beach. So it's, you know, if you're not waterfront,
It,
you're by the beach anyways.
it's like 2 miles from the beach,
Right.
so
Have you considered putting an outdoor shower?
we do. We have it.
Oh,
Yeah,
you have.
we have an outdoor shower, has 2 driveways. I mean, it's a well-maintained property, so doesn't really need much. Yeah, I mean, the only other way I would say to increase like value would be to like add a pool. I do have the space, but I don't know if I want to invest. I don't know.
It's quite an endeavor.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a client, so we're assisting into transitioning with that management because we're helping him purchase it. But it's going to be a 4-2 with a pool, driveway, that whole thing. And the previous seller was generating around 82K.
Wow.
Yeah,
At the
so
Cape?
that was, yeah, at the Cape
With a pool?
with a pool. It's in Bourne too, so it's like it's not barely Cape.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, wow.
yeah.
That's really
So
good.
yeah, and like,
Maybe I should look into managing it by myself, honestly, because I think what the companies will do is, I mean, they have these dynamic pricing and all that they'll adjust it, you know, as it gets near the date and there's no booking and all that. But I think you can make more if you were to manage it by yourself.
yeah, I mean that seems pretty light in my opinion in terms of income.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, without like truly seeing it.
Yeah.
You know, I think that there's opportunity potentially if you want to change some of the decor. You don't have to change the couch or anything like that. Like, don't go crazy, but a little bit of refreshing of like, because you're gonna approach like the down season soon. So pretty much after October, it's pretty quiet.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
a little bit, maybe a refresh in your living room, you know, some decor, you know, a little bit like, you know, fun
Yeah.
things on the walls, a refresh in photography, and changing just some linens. Really, it's Airbnb, for my experience, has been always about styling, you know, and making it seem like really cute and like
Home.
Instagram worthy, if you will, because there's a lot of these houses, you know, my Naples house included, where it's like leather couches and like it's not really Cape vibes, you know. And
Gotcha.
people kind of want that, if they
Gotcha.
can. So yours will book. It's just going to be maybe option 3 or 4. And obviously,
Yep.
I'm making assumptions here without
Yeah,
truly.
yeah. So
Yeah.
do you get a lot of returning guests, or do you even look at that data? Do you see a lot of?
Yeah, so we're 1 year young in terms of this portfolio property, but yeah, we have had requests for returning. We have, because we have 4 properties, and they're all in like very interesting locations. People will ask us where our other properties are. So the password to our networks are stayatourhouse.com. So they're
Nice.
encouraged to go on our website, and they'll see that there's 4 other properties and obviously more coming. So
That's
they
awesome.
have asked, hey, like, do you have other locations? Or we live right near Hampton, or like we would definitely book that next year, etc.
That's outstanding. I love that. So
Yeah.
you're obviously encouraging them to go to your website and hopefully avoiding Airbnb. How much does Airbnb charge for service?
15%, it's roughly 12 to the consumer, 3% to the host.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
that fee that we see on Airbnb, that's the 12%. And then you pay on the other side from your commission, 3% gets deducted.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, for the consumer, it's pretty substantial. Like, you know, like
Oh, it
$1,000
is?
already, 120. Very likely that 120 is going to be another 250 of taxes, local, and then you have state, and then you have cleaning. So that ends up very easily being 30 to 35% of whatever those costs are. You
That's
know,
insane.
it's a lot. I mean, when you compare it to the hotel resort fees, like, you know, like linen fees, there's a lot of line
Of
items too.
course. Of course. No, absolutely. But it's crazy how, you know, Airbnb, Uber, they all started at
Yep.
this as this like cheap alternative, but
Mhm.
it's now the go-to place. And it's, you know, it's it's supply and demand, right? The market likes it. It's going to be priced that way. And obviously you have a marketplace like Airbnb that hosts it. So, they got to get their fair share too, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, Airbnb's eating well, right?
They are.
If you will. Same thing with like VRBO and stuff. They get their share, but yes, that is something that we're really taking more seriously in like Q3 or Q4 rather, and Q1 next year, because we're adding more properties. We're really trying to figure out what's the best like launch route to get direct bookings, because we obviously have some network. Andrew is very well connected with like just SEO work and like digital marketing. And so really understanding how that is and like being able to test that strategy into direct bookings, because then we can control that experience a little bit more.
Yep. And you said you're on VRBO too, or?
Yes.
Yeah. So how does it go when someone books on Airbnb? Is there like a platform that oversees everything on like a calendar when a date gets booked?
We have Logify. I assume your management company would also host you on VRBO also.
They do. Yeah. More than, they have like 10 different websites.
Right. Yeah. So we're on that. And then obviously they syndicate to others. But yes, our property management software will group everything together to make sure that there's no duplicate.
Gotcha. So the moment it books, it's going to cancel it or on Airbnb. So it's not going to show available any longer.
Exactly. Yeah. And you have minimum stays and stuff. I'm always playing around with what's appropriate for a minimum stay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, I appreciate all the feedback you gave us and all everything that you're doing. It's really interesting. Maybe we can follow this up on another call in the future to see how you're going, maybe 6 months, a year. Where can we follow you and support you?
So Instagram is LIENVUONG _. It's a private account, so just request. Happy to talk on there. Also, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, Bigger Pockets. It's all Lien Vuong. This should be only one.
The one and only.
Right.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you again, and thank you for being on.
Absolutely, my pleasure.